Good morning, good morning, good morning. We are back for another episode of the Buckeye Roast. It's your boy Ron James here with my guy QP Ski.
What's going on?
Nothing much, plenty to get into this week. We got an action-packed week of college football, tons of national news, and then some conversation that we need to revisit from last year that I thought was behind us. But we will get into that later. Where would you like to start the show today? Because we'd like to start on a positive note.
I have plenty of national news. So right through this is going on, everybody. Let me see who's first one in the chat, and I'll get us moving here. It was Charles Green. Got Gmo beat for once. So shout out to Charles Green, OH in the chat. So get those IOs, those blockos in there. Everybody's ready. See the familiar faces in here. So let's jump into it. So I'm going to do a lot of reading for y'all, working a little technical difficulties with these graphics, but let's hop into it. So, Ron, we got the AP poll out. We kind of say their national news for today. So let me get us going on that. Okay, so the top 5 goes as follows. Texas 1, Georgia 2, Ohio State 3, Bama 4, Tennessee 5. So let's just start with those 5. Any problems there? Much as expected. Still think Texas is the top team in the country?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it feels like they have probably the best win in the country so far. It seems like Georgia and Alabama are destined to become the number 1 team after this week, whoever is the winner of that game. And I'm fine with that. It keeps the pressure off Ohio State. I hated during the offseason that the Buckeyes seemed to be the team that everyone had their eye on. So the fact that they're kind of falling out of that spotlight and being able to settle in as the team that everybody doesn't have as their expected national champ, that's probably a good thing to kind of take those expectations away from the Buckeyes and let them just go out there and play ball, let the national media make their rankings and charts and all of that good stuff, and we'll get out there and play ball and just continue to do our thing. So I think everybody's deserving where they're currently at. I think Texas does have the best win in the country. And then I think I do think one of the either Georgia or Alabama, whoever ends up winning that game, will sneak into that number 1 spot. Tennessee at 5, I think it's earned. I mean, I think it says a lot about what people are seeing out of Nico and how much they believe in that program. Miami has been impressive, a little slow out of the gate against USF this past week, but still I think deserving of a top 10 spot. I'm trying to find something that jumps out to me a little bit. The only thing that really stands out to me, no Rutgers. Impressive win over Virginia Tech this past weekend, 4-0 currently. I know the Scarlets have a pretty cupcake schedule so far, but I mean, it's a Big Ten team with an undefeated schedule. I think their biggest game this season will be either Washington or USC. And after the way USC looked against Michigan, I don't know if it's a guarantee that they beat Rutgers. So I think Rutgers is a team that should be ranked. But outside of that, no complaints here. Any complaints for you?
Not in that top 5. I think the top 3 have been interchangeable. I will run down it since everybody can't see it. Let me run through the rest of it real quick. Ole Miss at 6, Miami at 7, Oregon at 8, Penn State at 9, Utah at 10. No real problems there. Ole Miss has been pretty dominant. Miami, we still waiting for answers for. We get down their schedule to see how it goes. Oregon has kind of snuck back in there, solidified themselves along with Penn State. So we have those there. Oh, we have it. Look at this. All right. So there we go. Now everybody can see. Going to 11, Missouri, Michigan, USC, who I'm surprised didn't slide a little further, LSU, and Louisville, and then Notre Dame, Clemson, Iowa State, Illinois, Oklahoma State, followed by Oklahoma, who did not show well this weekend, BYU, Kansas State, which was actually a pretty solid game, and then Texas A&M and Boise State. So overall, I'm with you. I believe Rutgers probably should be in there somewhere. Haven't really seen them, and I noticed a lot of teams that lost didn't really move. So that was kind of the second thing of like, oh, you lost to them? Well, we're going to put you right behind them. So there you go. You're not better than them, but you're the next best team. So
College football loves a good loss.
like quality losses. Oh, so that's the current AP poll as it stands. So we have that up here. So next, Ron, I just kind of chalk this up to headlines as far as college football goes. So we're just gonna run down these, and you in the chat can sort of give me your reactions to them as well. But if you are on Twitter, go ahead and like or retweet the video, send it out there. If you're in the community, do it in there as well. It's important so people get to see it. You know, we're here live somewhere around 8 a.m. every morning, depending on what happens and what we can get to upload. So do that for us, and I will plug some more stuff later. So let's hop into these headlines. So one of the games we were watching for this weekend, Tennessee and Oklahoma. Start with this. Tennessee wins 25-15. I don't think Oklahoma showed very well in that game, and neither did the coach, because Jackson Arnold has been benched for Michael Hawkins. So my first question to you is, how much of a mistake does it look right now to let Dillon Gabriel walk out the door for a guy that's no longer starting in week 5?
It seems crazy. I know Oklahoma fans can't be happy, especially with Dillon Gabriel getting things rolling as of late. And I mean, that was honestly probably Buckeyes fans' biggest fear during the offseason, that we let Kyle go and him go and do something similar. But Oklahoma fans have to be looking around like, what is going on here? It feels like the Brett Venables tenure isn't off to the greatest starts, and then you let go of a quarterback that potentially could be, I mean, at the beginning of the season, open the season with some of the highest Heisman odds. I know he's slumped a little bit in the Heisman odds, and we'll get to that in a little bit, but for the most part, this is a guy that most people believed was one of the best available transfer quarterbacks, and Oklahoma said, yeah, no thanks. We got Jackson Arnold, and now I don't even, what's the new guy's name? Michael Myers or some shit like that? I don't even know his name.
Killer quarterback. Michael Hawkins. Yeah, he played. He
Stephen Hawkins. How are they going to put him in the game?
He looked a little bit better than Jackson Arnold did, and put some drives together there, as Oklahoma really did not score until well late in the game. So it was a pretty rough sighting, but I'm with you. It's gotta look rough, especially just starting into SEC play. I mean, I could see after a couple games maybe making a move, but I don't know if I could. I mean, Jackson Arnold hasn't been great. I wouldn't say he's been terrible, but they haven't really played much until now. I would probably wing it and give him a little more of a chance here going down the stretch. But yeah, I think they're hitting the emergency button here pretty early on, so that does not look good. Okay, second, Colorado beats Baylor in the thrilling overtime game. You see Shador with the Hail Mary at the end of the game, as we all saw. They moved to 3-1 on the season. Ron, my question for you is Colorado a team week in, week out that you need to just put on the TV regardless of who they're playing? It seems to be a marquee event, because it turns out to be an exciting game no matter who they put on the schedule.
It feels like Travis Hunter's much-watched TV at this point. And when you have someone that dynamic in college football, I feel like this is what college football felt like when I was growing up. Like, I felt like at the beginning of the college football era, there were only, I have the hiccups at 8:20 in the morning for some reason. But, Travis Hunter's much-watched TV, and it feels like this season gives me old-school college football vibes, because, like, growing up, like, people still got excited about bowl games. Like, people still rooted for teams that didn't have a chance to win the national championship, and there were things to be excited about outside of the playoff chase and national championship chase. And there's a lot of exciting things and storylines to follow around college football this year, and I think Travis Hunter is one of those much-watched TV moments. And you see him with the game-winning forced fumble at the end of the game always finds a way to end up around the ball. He's had game-winning interceptions, game-winning fumble forces, game-winning catches. This guy does it all. And for any true not college football fan, any football fan has to respect and appreciate the things that he's putting on film week in and week out. And like you said, it has become much-watched TV. And then you have Shedeur, first round pick still. I mean, a first round pick at quarterback, Jimmy Horn, a guy that we're gonna see play on Sundays. It has become much watch TV with the way that they're balling out. Even if they're not winning, they're gonna make it exciting.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, every time I've turned on TV set and was able to watch them, their games have been really good, and that is college football. You don't have to be the best team, really. That doesn't really matter to the end of the season. If you want to be a successful program, just be much watched TV week in, week out. If you're on ESPN every week, I don't care if you go 8-4. Your program's buzzing, you're moving, people are noticing, and kind of in this day and age of NIL and ways to build a program, I think that's one of the most important things is to be out there week in, week out, and be talked about it and create some kind of buzz. So I think for as much criticism as they get, for as much as you feel like behind the scenes it could be a train wreck, Colorado is doing the right things to stay in the spotlight. So another week, another Colorado headline. Moving on, my guy, pound the chest, Mike Norvell gets his first win.
Oh, you said my guy. I assumed this was a Kenneth Grant segment. I watched the game. I don't think he did anything.
Later in the show. Our guy Mike Norvell, he heard my cries. Him and the gang, their first win against Cal, 14-9. So they do not become the first team to be favored in the first 4 games and lose all 4 of them. Ron, this is probably a throwaway question, but any chance they turn it around this season?
No. That team stinks. Shout out to them. I'm kind of glad that they put this Cal Twitter phenomenon to bed. Like Cal randomly got popping on Twitter through AI pictures, and they've been like the talk of college football Twitter for the past couple weeks. And yeah, I'm glad that Florida State put that out because everyone's like, everybody has already come to the conclusion that they believe Florida State stinks. So if you go out there and lose to Florida State, everybody thinks you stink too. So seeing that little narrative kind of die and come to an end was funny to see. I mean, I don't want to see Florida State win. I'd like to take players off their roster and out of their recruiting class. So keep losing.
Yeah. That would be nice. So let's hope we can move on there. Another team that did not fare well this weekend, and a team that did. So shout out to JMU, the Dukes. Visited that school a lot of times. Had a lot of friends go there. I partied some days at JMU. Ron, they rolled to UNC and beat them 70-50. My first question is: are both defensive coordinators getting fired after 120 points are put up on the scoreboard?
I was listening to Menace yesterday, and Zach said they put up a basketball score. And I was like, yeah, I mean, it must have been fitting for all the North Carolina people because they're like, man, we are a basketball school with these numbers that we're putting up in football too. Like, North Carolina has to be looking around like, how is Duke having a better season than us? We're supposed to be the decent football program around here. What has happened to that program, it's ridiculous. I don't know how much longer any of the coaches at North Carolina can stick around after the season that they're having right now, and it's just been putrid. And then JMU, all you got to do is look at the last name of the offensive coordinator to understand what happened. They got a fucking Shanahan calling plays over there. I mean, you see what those guys do to the NFL. It's only you should have expected what they would have been able to do at the college level, and they go up there and run it up on North Carolina. North Carolina is probably going to have to clean house, especially with the way things are looking in the ACC. A putrid team right now. I don't think they're going to continue their losses. They play Pitt next week, so I don't see much hope or things to be positive about for North Carolina fans. Basketball season kicks off here in about 13 days, so I know they have their preseason blue-white scrimmage coming up, so they might as well just cash things in on the football season and get ready for hoops because it's right around the corner. They don't got much to look forward to when it comes to football.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. And for those who don't know, JMU football is a really good team. They're just not the Division One Power Five standard as usual. But when they were in the lower divisions, they were winning natties. You pretty much competitive every year for them. So they're kind of your, I guess, North Dakota State ish for where they compete program. They don't win as that many times, but they're usually up there as one of the best teams in that lower division. So we will see. I am very interested to see if they eventually do move around to one of these lower tier non-power five conferences because they're a very successful program. So we will see for that one, see where they move and shake. Okay, some sad news a little bit. Harold Perkins is out for the season. He did get hurt over the past weekend, so I think this might be the end we see of him we might see him just go ahead and get ready for the NFL. So we did a couple good years with Harold Perkins and some questionable years at linebacker. So we will see where he fares out going into the NFL draft. Moving on, Reggie Bush. The guy.
Wait, real quick. A quick note. It's a sad run to the end of the top two linebackers in that class. Harold Perkins' season ends as with an ACL. We won't see him. He was the number one linebacker in his recruiting class, followed by drumroll, who was the second ranked linebacker behind Harold Perkins' Q.
Pass rush specialist CJ Hicks.
Pass rush specialist CJ Hicks, two guys highly touted coming out of high school with high expectations. Harold Perkins burst on the scene in his freshman year with an amazing freshman season, struggled a bit under a new defensive coordinator in Brian Kelly's first year at LSU, and then his third season ends early with an ACL. You hate to see it, and then you see CJ Hicks struggling to get on the field. Disappointing for both of those guys at where we currently stand for two guys that had such high hopes coming out of high school.
Well, the question then is, do you think Harold Perkins comes back? Because I think we all expect CJ Hicks to give it another go next season.
Comes back to college?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. All right. He's gone. I figure. I mean, it's been
not at LSU at least.
Yeah, it's been a rough transition from just being the pass rush guy for him to playing a little more linebacker. So I think we know where his future lies. And I'm another person who thinks when he goes to the NFL, he's going to look better than he's looked the past couple seasons because they usually find ways to use those guys. CJ Hicks is more of a question, but we will see if they adjust it or say, nope, he's playing linebacker, gun to his head. We're making him a mic and making him call the defense and not playing to his strengths. So we will see there. Okay, so Reggie Bush, this is breaking news. So he is suing USC, the NCAA, and the Pac-12 to seek compensation for the past use of his NIL. Not too much concern with that, but my better question is, Ron, we see these NIL valuations week in, week out coming from Ron 3 or On 3 as some know it. What would Reggie Bush during his heydays valuation been in NIL?
Probably in the peak Reggie Bush, in his
peak, one sleeve, stopping on a dime, reversing field.
$4 or $5 million it had to have been. And I think that would have been out of legitimate endorsements. I remember as a kid, that's all anyone was talking about was what Reggie Bush was doing week in and week out. Every kid wanted to run like Reggie Bush. Everybody in school was talking about what Reggie Bush did that past weekend. So, I mean, through the roof. I mean, you're talking about a top 5 NIL valuation in the history of the sport. I mean, I'm trying to think. I mean, Johnny Manziel and Tim Tebow might be the only two people that I could think maybe even potentially rivaled. I mean, Cam Newton at Auburn. I don't even know. I think those might be my top 3. Let me know in the chat your guys' top 3 who you think all-time NIL values were for college football players. Q, do you have a top 3, or do you think anyone outside of those 3 might crack that list?
Yeah, I mean, Reggie Bush is definitely up there. I would say Cam Newton on that run. I would say if you go post Alabama game, Cam Newton, when they came all the way back, man. They were probably non-NIL throwing maybe a couple million his way just for that one to beat your rival. So I would say Cam Newton's up there. I would, let me see, who else would I throw in there? I would probably take Johnny Manziel over Tim Tebow. I know Tim Tebow was definitely the guy at Florida and the guy in college football for a couple years. But I would say the excitement level of Johnny Manziel, especially the way he burst on the scene, like you would be like, they probably would have been throwing money at him really quickly. His valuation for that season probably would have been stupid. So
Vince Young, yeah, our guy Johnny.
Young
I'm
be up
sitting here
there.
looking. I just switched back from the chat, but yeah, Vince Young, absolutely one of the guys that would be up there in that conversation. So yeah, man,
top in the other two, but I feel like he's up there in probably that top 5.
I do think Reggie made a mistake, though. He probably should have sued the Pac-12 maybe a year or two ago. A little bit more money
No money now.
to go after, bro. He's robbing the collection plate at this point.
So we will track how that goes. All right, couple more headlines, then we'll jump into some bracketology that we have here because we've never done that before. Quinn Ewers is currently questionable for Mississippi State. So we saw Arch play this past weekend against the School of the Blind. Looked well, played about as well as he could. So I would say, are you
2 interceptions, didn't he?
I think he had one. Yeah, one.
Okay.
He got going after that. So I think he played pretty well. So I would say, do you have faith that Arch can win SEC games from what you have seen so far?
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like he's put enough on tape so far to know that, like, he's a competent and capable quarterback. But, I mean, you also see the interception this weekend to remind you that, you know what I mean, he's never started. So I think it's good that he's working some of these things out. And like you said, I don't think Texas needs him to win again this week. And you may see him sit out and continue to develop. I feel like you're seeing with Quinn the things that we talked about with Austin Sareveld, like a guy that may not start this year, but is getting valuable reps because you know this guy is eventually going to start. So I think the Quinn Ewers injury is honestly a blessing in disguise because it allows them to prepare for their future in the middle of a national championship run as well.
Yeah, I agree there. I'm very interested to see Arch play some of these games here and develop. And then when Quinn Ewers gets back, I'm pretty sure by the time we get that Georgia matchup, I don't care. They're gonna put Terminator body parts in him and say, hey, we need you. This is a big game, so be ready by then. So expect Quinn to be probably back at least the following week after this game. And last note here for our resident Michigan fans, Alex Orji has been set to be the starter yet again going into this week. It looks like it'll be the remainder of the season. Going there. So, Ron, does this make you think Michigan is any? I know we talked about them yesterday. You think Michigan is any more of a threat going forward?
Yeah, I do. I think Alex Orji gives them the best opportunity to win despite only throwing for 32 yards. If he's able to come up with any sense of a passing game, I think this Michigan offense. Huh?
I said if he's able to throw for 50 yards.
Yeah, bro, 50 yards might get it done for them. I think that if he's able to find any semblance of a passing game, if they're able to get more creative with the screen game, pop passes, touch passes, things like that, to get him going, get him comfortable, I do think that Michigan team's going to take a step forward. They reminded you that defense is elite against a USC team that appears to be fraudulent. So, I mean, I think Orji's the right call. I don't think Davis Warren is the answer. And if they have any hope, I think it's in this ground and pound, have Orji scramble and make a play occasionally, take the air out of the ball and try to win on defense. I think Will Johnson's their best offensive player that they have. So if the other team keeps throwing them touchdown passes, Michigan should be able to keep winning. So yeah. And everybody's saying, where's the bonnet? It's coming. It's coming.
Oh, don't let him forget it. Okay, all right. Well, that's my headlines from college football this weekend. I kind of like that format, so we may keep that going forward. But let me know if you like it, and go ahead and comment in there. Okay, so we're gonna hop into some bracketology, but before we do that, do remember we have audio. I'm a little late updating it, but we have audio platforms. So if you don't guys want to watch us on YouTube, tag into it, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that good stuff. It will be there. So Appreciate your support on that one. Ron, let's hop into some bracketology because we've never done this before.
First overall seed, my Duke Blue Devils. Oh, different type of bracketology?
Yeah, football bracketology. So Bud Elliott from Cover 3 releases this, and I thought it was interesting, so I figured we'd talk about it. So this is prediction for the playoffs when they come later in the season. So I'll read the top 4 to you. The top 4 goes as Ohio State will finish 1 at the end of the season. Texas will finish 2. Miami will finish 3, supposedly. And Utah will finish 4. Ron, I will start with you with just those first 4 right there. Do you think that can actually happen?
Yeah, I mean, if Ohio State wins, if all of these guys win their conference, I don't know if Clemson can have something to say about Miami, but Miami looks to be ready to cakewalk. The only problem that I have is I have zero faith in Isaac Wilson being able to carry Utah to a Big 12 championship. That's probably my only concern with this top 4. I like a lot of these. Georgia, Alabama, Texas, Ole Miss from the SEC. And Tennessee in there as well. So that'd be 5 SEC teams, 3 Big 10 teams. I got that right? Yeah, 3 Big 10 teams.
Oregon, Ohio State, and Penn State.
Yeah, I don't really have too many problems with this. I think the SEC is going to cannibalize themselves a bit. You know, Georgia and Alabama play each other this weekend, so I know everyone will have their eyes on that. I mean, the only thing that I could see potentially maybe shaking up in here is if Michigan decides to get things rolling and their only other loss is to Ohio State. If Ohio State beats Penn State takes another tumble. Does Michigan sneak in there? Can Ole Miss beat up on someone in the SEC and maybe them move up? But as far as the 12 in there, I don't really have too many arguments. Maybe the order changes a little bit depending on how these games shake out, but for the most part, I like that 12. Is there anything that you're not feeling in this list?
I'm more so I like the 12 just like you do. It's more so the order where I would say I don't know if that order is gonna finish like that. Like Miami and Utah both being above probably the second rated SEC team when
it's going to be like that because the conference champs get the top 4 spots. So even if they don't deserve it, they're going to get those spots anyway. So those are locked in. That's going to be a Big 12 team and an ACC team. So, I mean, your options at 3, 4 are Clemson, Miami, and Utah. And
because I know they're locked into the playoffs. I did forget they all get the bye. So, yeah, you probably had a good point there. Well, then thinking about it that way with that order, I would say I do want to see how USC bounces back. I want to see how they bounce back from that loss because I still would believe in a one-on-one game with Penn State, I can still see USC pulling it out. They might be the better team there. So that's one for the Big Ten. And I'm with you, Michigan, if they can get it rolling, I believe they will be in there somewhere. So that's really about it. But I don't mind the order of teams at all. I think from the teams that we've looked at in the early college football and say, okay, they're playing pretty good ball. Let's see how they finish in the season. I mean, I couldn't say any of these teams won't be there at the end of the year so far. So I see if you take that into consideration, I don't really have much of a problem with this list at all.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty solid job, and it'll be very interesting to see. Like I said, Miami has a cupcake of a conference. It'll be interesting to see what the ACC does once they get to the playoffs. I know a lot of Miami fans will make the argument that Clemson, no one remembers their strength of schedule, or the second best teams in the ACC when they were making their run. I think that's cap, but we'll see. We'll see how they look and if they're able to pull a Clemson off and play a cupcake schedule all the way to the playoffs and then turn it up and show that they are potentially one of the best teams in the country.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Okay, Ron, so I will give you a choice. We will move one of these tomorrow, so we got some content for there. Do you want to talk about the best freshman of the past week, or do you want to talk about the Heisman standings going into week 5?
Let's talk Heisman standings.
All right, there we go. Okay, so we will talk Heisman standings going in. So week 5, the list goes as currently. Travis Hunter made some made some way this weekend. He moves back up to 1, currently on 3's poll. Cam Ward 2, Jalen Milroe 3, Ashton Genty from Boise State 4, Jackson Dart 5, and we'll go Nico at 6. So top 6 right here. You got any problems about any guys you will move around? Any shakers? How do you set with this list?
No, I think that trying to just like move so like my face is kind of in frame. No, last week I got on here and I said Colorado takes that loss and he falls completely out of the Heisman odds contention, and it maybe went towards everyone's argument that they had early in the season where people were telling me Colorado is not going to win enough games, and I just kept making the argument. I don't understand how you can't give an award for the best player in college football to a guy that is making such huge plays on both sides of the ball. Who cares if they're winning? As far as value to their team, he's easily the most valuable player on any team in the country. And what he's been able to do, not only at wide receiver, but on the defensive side of the ball, the interceptions that we've seen, the forced fumbles, the game-winning plays, the interceptions, to the walk-off interception. This guy has done it all, and like I said, it's changed the landscape of college football with the level of excitement that he's bringing. While it's a quarterback award, I just don't see how a guy, especially something that's so rare, we don't see people play and contribute at this high of a level on both sides of the ball. It's almost a once-in-a-generation type of thing. So to not reward a guy like this that has blazed his own trail, has started in HBCU, trusted in Prime, and went to Colorado. If Prime is able to take a Heisman winning trophy from a former Jackson State University and Colorado cornerback and make him the Heisman, I feel like that's a huge resume builder of like, hey, you talk all your shit you want on Prime, but he went out and got the number 1 player in the country and turned him into a Heisman caliber player. While I think this is a quarterback award, you look at the other people on the list: Jalen Milroe, Cam Ward, Jackson Dart, Ashton Genty. I just don't see it at Boise State. Some of them not with the brand recognition. It's cool that they're showing them the love. They're going to invite him to New York, but there's no way they're giving the Heisman to a guy at Boise State. He's just not the biggest. The biggest brand recognition that Genty's getting is probably out of college football 25. I see his name and him talked about more on the game than I do on national college football coverage. I think he's just not going to be able to have the storyline and national recognition to get it. I think the biggest threat to Travis Hunter would probably be Cam Ward with the schedule that they have, the way that he's playing, the wow moments that he has, the pitch plays, the scramble drills. I think he's probably the second most dynamic player in the country right now. I think the SEC is going to cannibalize themselves. Nico, that Heisman hype is really going to start to heat up, especially with him being a young guy and them ready to crown a guy that they're going to be able to put on all over TV again next year. That's a name to keep an eye out on. But for the most part, I think I like the rankings. I think Travis Hunter and Cam Ward are 1, 2, and I think they do have it right here in this Heisman poll.
Yeah, I think Travis Hunter, he would get it if the season ended today. I think he's been outstanding. I think the one kind of unfortunate thing here is we don't get to see him go play big time football and compete for a natty at Colorado. I think that would have been a thing if he had gone to a Georgia or, I mean, Florida State didn't hold it.
Yeah, how's Florida State doing? It doesn't look like we've seen him play for a Heisman or a natty or a playoffs either.
Yeah, I can't say there, but if he had gone to his other considerations, I would have loved to see him in later in the playoffs or in games that matter most to see how he performed there. But he's been outstanding. I got to see Cam Ward as the stretch goes down. I mean, I don't think they're going to play anybody too much, so he got a nice open train to this. But I gotta look at the guys at the end of this list. Will Johnson and Khalil Mullins have now made the list before any Ohio State guys have jumped in here. So apparently Michigan is back rolling with a couple of Heisman candidates.
I think this is lazy voting. I don't even think the voters know what position Khalil Mullins plays. They saw all the rushing yards and assumed he was he assumed that must be Michigan's quarterback because they don't throw the ball.
So, yeah, it's quarterback
running for all these yards.
So good to see some Big Ten love in here. But yeah, I think if Travis Hunter continue to play well, hopefully he can get it because I am just tired of the best quarterback not the best player winning it. So
quick question for you in regards to running backs at Michigan. Is Donovan Edwards the worst sporting cover athlete since Peyton Hillis? Let me know in the chat if you guys can think of a worse cover athlete than Donovan Edwards. You let me know in the chat because it's looking like quite possibly the worst cover athlete in sporting history.
I mean, I'm very sure we could probably find some worse, but he's not helping it. He's not really helping himself in there. I mean, Khalil Mullins takes the hype off of the weekend, so he's trying to get the cover athlete on his team, let alone on the game award. But hey, man, get your bread, I guess. I'm never mad at it, but yeah, he's been a little bit forgotten here in this backfield because Khalil Mullins definitely had a dominant weekend. So I'm with you there.
We have spent a lot of time talking national news because, I mean, the Buckeyes have been so dominant this year. I mean, we're normally here to call out the things that look bad, and there's not too many things to talk about. Ohio State hasn't talked to the media yet, but there is an old topic about the Buckeyes that we must revisit. Yeah, what the fuck is going on with our special teams? I said it on the post games. I said it everywhere. It felt like Parker Fleming snuck back on the sidelines, Connor Stallion style, and tried to curse us. What happened?
I don't know. I kind of chopped this last segment up into things we learned, so I figured we could start there with the special teams. I mean, kicking 3 times out of bounds in a row. If that was a prop bet, oh man, how much would that pay out?
It wouldn't pay out. It would fucking end up with you in jail because they would have charged you for game fixing and they would have arrested Jaden Fielding at halftime like you're point shaving.
3 times in a row. Yeah, man. Especially does not look good this past weekend. I mean, that was sort of the highlight up to the point where Joe Klatt was done. He was like, look, I'm about to go down there and kick it myself. He has to find a way to keep this in bounds. It was pretty damn bad. You could tell just coming back over to Ryan Day, kicker was like, damn it. I gotta go see the head coach again because he's gonna find me on that sideline.
So I went on YouTube after, like later that day, and I'm like, how hard could it be to find a kicker that's just blasting shit out of the end zone? Bro, I Googled Jaden Fielding. This man's kicking 65-yard field goals at camps in high school, but bro is kicking the ball out of bounds at Ohio State. And he was trying to point to Ryan Day and blame the elements. I'm no lip reading expert, but if I had to guess what Ryan Day said, it appeared to be there's no fucking wind. He tried to blame it on the elements, and Ryan Day turns and goes, there's no fucking wind. He's looking up at all the flags inside the stadium. None of them are blowing, and he's talking about the wind took it out of bounds. Bro, if you don't run up there and blast that shit out of the back of the end zone, like what? He was the number 7 kicker, I believe, in the country. It means they're getting the top 10 kicking recruits, and this guy's still not getting it done. It's unacceptable.
Well, shit, you better be happy we didn't get the number 8 guy. That might have been 4.
Jesus. Apparently, someone else, they're everywhere else making field. Bro, I don't think there's a single kicker in the nation that kicked the ball out of bounds 3 times this week.
Imagine if we missed on him. Who we would have brought.
We might have accidentally got someone better. Apparently, because no one else is doing worse. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's no way 8 could have been worse. I promise you, 8 didn't kick it out of bounds 3 times this week. I'm after, actually, continue the show. I'm going
to. Oh, man. I'm just saying it. That's pretty bad. So I basically chalked it up to things we learned this past weekend from just overall college football. And I had 4 on my list. Ron wanted to hit the special teams. So I can run through mine while Ron does his research. And then, Ron, I'll let you close it out so we can get out of here. So quick 4 for me, besides the special teams that needs help. That's Ron's. I learned Ohio State can win on both sides of the ball. I don't think that was much of a question here, but we've seen both sides start slow and the other side kind of carry it and keep it going. So first thing I learned for the weekend. Second, Nico is worth whatever they're paying him. I know a lot of talk with him when he came out recruit, $8 million. Whatever they gave him, he is absolutely worth it. The number 3 thing is Colorado's much-watched TV. We talked about them earlier in the show. I think anytime they show up on TV, you got to tune them on, especially the way their games have gone. And the fourth one, John, would be happy about this one. I think Michigan was slept on after this Texas game. I think everybody wrote them off, thought they were buried and dead. And I think they're back to who we thought they would be going into the season. So, very solid team, can run the ball, play defense, all that good stuff. So, that's the things I learned for college football this weekend. I can't hear you.
Your boy was on mute because I accidentally unplugged my mic in frustration for the kicking.
All right, back to Ron.
So I went to the rankings, and what I learned this weekend is that the video that says Jaden Fielding is the number 7 kicker in the country in 2022 was an absolute lie, because I'm looking at 27 kickers that were ranked higher than him. So,
well, there it is. There it is.
So if we would have got 8, Mr. Trevor Hellberg, who is currently the kicker at Houston, I think we might be in better shape.
Not us losing out to Houston. Come on, man. Get some NIL deals out there. We got to get this kicking game up.
Absolutely. It's unacceptable. Oh, look, he's not even there anymore. He's now actually at a school that I don't even recognize their logo. Tarleton State University.
You know what? I wonder who has the job of going around the nation and ranking the kickers and just being like, yeah, this dude really.
It should be Ron James. Ron 3 needs to update their fucking kicker rankings, because I promise you, I can evaluate college kickers better than 90% of these special teams coaches that have never played soccer, that know nothing about kicking a fucking football. Like, if your special teams coordinator is a football guy, what are you doing? Like, if you don't have some guy that knows soccer somewhere on your staff to find you a kicker, whether it's a GA that knows something about soccer, like, I am just so of the belief that, like, yes, kicking a soccer ball and a football are different, but when you're talking about baseline leg strength, go find me a fucking soccer player, not some guy that decided that I don't want to go to soccer practice anymore. I'm not developing my leg anymore. I'm going to walk around with a football jersey for 4 years in high school and pretend like I play football, when actually I'm not good enough to be on the soccer team, but they took me on the football team first. Go find elite soccer players, whether that be defenders, goalies, people that are playing at cup level, people that are playing at international camps, people that are playing cup at the highest level. Go pay one of them to not play soccer and get them. Look, prime example. My high school soccer coach could have been an NFL kicker. Broke state records in Pennsylvania, could have went on full scholarships to play football. He chose to be the backup goalie at Duquesne University. Why? You could have been an NFL kicker. There's so many kids out there around the nation that are sitting on college rosters that could be borderline NFL kickers, but decided to follow their dream of soccer. If you don't find a dream of being a millionaire in Columbus and kicking a game-winning field goal in 100,000 people, like, there ain't no way all these soccer kids are dreaming about sitting on benches at fucking Bethany College. Like, come be the kicker at Ohio State. Like, look how much fun Will Howard's having on the sidelines. I guarantee any kicker the kicker that came in and kicked the ball in bounds got a standing ovation. You're telling me you want to sit on the bench for a soccer team instead of having 100,000 people scream your name? Recruiting kickers cannot be that hard.
You said it the best. You said it all.
Believe me, they know how to get a hold of me. Just have James Laurinaitis unblock me. I know he's in charge of kickoff, and I could get things started. And I promise you, I'll take less than $500,000 a year to steal money from the university, like Parker Fleming did. I'll come do it for $450,000.
And I'll be a secretary for $70K. There we go.
New recruiting director and special teams coordinators, Ron and Q. Sorry, the show's not going to go on. We've actually been hired by the university as full-time assistants on the staff.
Great time. I'll travel the country and pull these kickers out the mud. Oh, man. That's all I really had for the show today. Ron, you got anything before we get out of here?
No, big shout out to our guy, Trevor Hellberg, the number 8 kicker in the 2022 class at Tarleton State. Shout out to my guy. That's all I got before we get out of here.
I hope he's doing well. All right. Appreciate the chat rolling through. Y'all are amazing. Everybody on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button. If you are on Twitter, make sure you hit that like and retweet. And if you're in the community, do the same thing. Got to see the familiar faces this morning. So shout out to y'all. See Doreen in here. Shout out for being a member. We really appreciate it. Do we have any super chats? Did we miss anything that we didn't get to? I don't think we got to.
Ohio refugee. We have one super chat.
Okay.
JTT job should be up for grabs. I couldn't disagree more. Check the PFF grades. JTT goes out there and does what he is asked to do on a weekly basis. I feel like a lot of people are constantly upset with the output and that it doesn't show on the stat sheets. But as far as being where he needs to be and supporting the run game, I think JTT does that at a very high level on a weekly basis.
Yeah, I would say run game is probably one of the best in there. I'd say pass rush, he probably leaves a little to be desired, but we kind of know who he is at this point. So I don't choose on the coaches. They know what he is, and they're taking it. I would love some adjustment to the pass rush we talked yesterday, but we will see if we get that. We'll see.
Yeah, shout out to our guy, Ohio refugee. Sorry for just getting that to at the end of the show. But Q, that's all I have. You want to let the people know where they could find you?
Yeah, man, pretty easy to find here. See, we're Quitting on YouTube, Fly to Jocelyn on IG and TikTok, and then Minor League Films. If you are into movies here on YouTube, I actually had a pretty good video bump yesterday, so I'm pretty happy about that. And on TikTok as well. If you want some movie reviews, where you can find me, Ron. Get us out of here.
If you want to find me, you can find me on Twitter at 2Ts. That's 2_TEES. You can find me here weekdays, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m.-ish for the Buckeye Roast here with my guy Q. Wednesdays in the Bleacher Report app, Saturdays on the Medicine Sports platform, and also on Bleacher Report. We are everyone. We are everyone. We are everywhere. We are everyone.
We're everyone.
We're everyone.
No matter who you tune into, it's really
whoever
AI.
Whoever you see next is actually wrong.
Behind AI.
We are everywhere. We are not hard to find. We appreciate everyone tuning in, and we will see you later in the week. Hopefully, we should have some guests to come talk to you guys. So keep an eye out for that. You know how this ends, though. Q, go Bucks, and OH.
Ayo.
Yeah.